Hey guys, it's Healing503. Welcome back to another Beyblade X unboxing. Today we're going to be checking out the last of the starter packs from Wave 6 of Hasbro, that being Shelter Drake. So first off, I'll look at the packaging. Standard BX starter packaging. We got the blue band with a very nice image of Shelter Drake with the open window, Shelter Drake 780 GP. And then on the back of the box, it just talks about the bay in question. So of course we have the Shelter Drake blade. Ratchet is 780, and then we have the GP bit. So let's get into this. Now, when you compare this to Rockbottom, this might not be as desirable, but I do feel like this will probably still be desirable, really in general, considering that we've had its remolds up until now. Alright, so I'll get the parts laid on the table, and we'll go over the bay in more detail. Okay, so here is Shelter Drake out of the packaging. So first off, you get the starter launcher. Nothing too crazy to talk about there. But this is the same bay that was the prize bay in the Shelter Drake Random Booster Select. So if you, say, missed out on that original Random Booster, or never got the original Shelter Drake colors from this, well, you can now buy it as a starter pack, which is pretty cool. So let's first have a look at the blade itself. Come on, face the right way for me. Thank you. See, love that gear chip. When this bay originally got revealed, it really gave me Slifer the Sky Dragon vibes. I think that looks absolutely sick. So Shelter Drake is a balance type blade, so both blades are pretty much symmetrical. But it's pretty interesting to see finally get this blade, considering that from Hasbro, we got it first as Gill Shark and then Chewbacca. And they are pretty interesting on remolds, I will say that. But this looks really, really cool. So the main traits of Shelter Drake is that it is very, very flat. So the idea of what this blade can do is really meant to really get under your opponent's blades to perform some really nice upper attacks. Now, I will say it does that really well. But probably the main downside with this blade is that it is not super heavy. It's not the heaviest blade around, so it does struggle. But it can do the tasks that it needs to do. But I will say it's not exactly really going to be meta-changing. Now, in the Hasbro format, that may be different. But at least in the TT format, you don't really see Shelter Drake that often. But still, it's a very nice looking blade. So definitely very happy to have this from Hasbro. There's the QR code that you can scan into the Beyblade X app. But yeah, really awesome to finally have Shelter Drake from Hasbro. Next up, we have the 780 Ratchet. Now, this was a new part that was introduced with Shelter Drake. So it's nice to get this part in a starter pack now. Now, the 7 Ratchets are pretty decent. 760 and 770 are really, really great parts. I'm not too sure about 780, considering that it is one of the taller ratchets, but still looks really cool. I just want to see if this is pretty tight. Yep, I would say that's pretty reasonable. It's not as tight as the Fold Hornet 760s, but still really, really nice to get 780 in a starter pack now. Finally, for the bit, we have Gear Point. Not a new part. We first saw this with Unicorn Sting, and this has also come out in the same wave with Bumblebee and Shockwave. But still, it's a decent bit. A lot of people do prefer to use the original point bit and even Transpoint over Gear Point, but still not a bad bit to have. So with this combination of parts, Shelter Drake is a balance type. Alright, let's get some weights in for Shelter Drake. So the Gear Point bit, this weighs 2.29 grams. The 780 Ratchet, this weighs 770 grams. 7.7 grams. And then finally the Shelter Drake blade, this weighs 32.43 grams. Just to put that into comparison, the remolds with Gill Shark and Chewbacca, Gill Shark weighs around 29.9. and Chewbacca weighs around 31.5. So the weight of the blade is not fantastic, but I will say it might still do decently well in the Hasbro format. So let's put the bay together. So 780 GP. There's the full combo. I will say combo-wise, it looks really good. So altogether, this bay weighs 42.4 grams. So, not too bad. It's still pretty light, but let's give this guy some test spins and some test battles. Alright, now let's do some test spins and some test battles with Shelter Drake. So let's see how this goes. Now it is on gear point, so performance for this will be okay. But it is going to be a pretty tall combo, which, I'll be honest, Shelter Drake won't really benefit from, considering it's meant to be a nice upper attacker. But I'll say it's staying relatively stable. But of course, being in most bits, point effects is affected by how you launch it. But hey, let's try this out in some test battles. Oh my god! Yep. Okay. So Golem got stuck. And yet, still has a good amount of stamina. Oh. Wow. Golem Rocks, despite getting stuck, still outspins Shelter. Oh, nice counterattack. Nice hit there. So that is it for my look at Shelter Drake. it's a decent release, but I would say it's definitely probably not the most desired out of Wave 6. Now, when you pick it up against the Golden Rock starter pack, just value-wise, Golden Rock is just way better, just from a competitive standpoint and from a part standpoint. But Shelter Drake's not bad. He's just a bit niche, I will say that. It's definitely one of those bays that are a bit more situational, where the upper attack potential can only really come in handy when up against certain opponents. Now, the gear point bit, I mean, it's okay, but when you just compare it to the other point bits that have been released, it's just not very useful, so you're better off just using the standard point bit. The 780 ratchet is nice, but I will say people do prefer 760 and 770, but I will say it is nice to get this part in a starter pack at least. And the blade, I mean, the blade itself is alright. I mean, again, pretty situational, but it can be pretty fun. So can I recommend picking up Shelter Drake? I would say at least pick up at least one, just to have a bit of fun with it. But just don't expect this to win like major tournaments, especially when you compare it to other bays that are currently out on the market. But I can recommend it, but just don't expect the best when you compare it to the other releases like Golden Rock. But it's alright. But that's gonna do it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Beyblade X videos in the future, and until then, I'll see you all in the next video.